Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and it's Triple Play Week, and I'm here with Misty and
everyone.
Natalie.
Hi.
And we've got a great project for you. The block we picked for this Triple Play is called 5440 or Fight, and it's actually one of my favorites because there's so many variations, and so we can't wait to show you how to make this. To make my quilt, you're going to need one packet of 10-inch squares, and I have used Harvest Gatherings by Laura Marshall for Windham fabrics. You're also going to need some background fabrics. You're going to need a total of about 6.5 yards if you use yardage. I use 2 layer cakes, so use whatever you'd like. You're going to need some accent fabrics, and that's for these middle blocks and my corner blocks. And of the accent fabric, you're going to need 1 1/8 yards. My border is a nice big 6-inch border, and that's 1 3/4 yards. And this backing, I love the floral in this line.
It's really pretty.
It's so pretty. So the backing, if you use a 45, you're going to need 9 5/8 yards for this one. If you use a 108, you're going to need about 3 yards of that. And of course, the line had a stripe in it, and you know what happens when a line has a stripe in it. I'm going to use it on my binding out here, and it just makes the cutest little binding. So this makes a pretty big quilt. It is 95 by 107, and it's just a great big quilt. Anytime you combine 2 layer cakes, it's a big quilt. So we're calling this Harvest Stars, and let me show you how to make it. So the first block we're going to talk about today is this star block right here, and this is actually a wonky star. I know my wonky stars don't look so wonky because I'm a creature of habit, and I tend to make them the same.
Yep.
But it's a wonky star, and so it's going to be however you want to make it. And for this, we're going to need to take 1 layer cake of print, and we're going to cut that into 4 5-inch pieces. Like this. We're just going to cut it twice. And I do love making wonky stars.
I do too.
Mm-hmm. And then you're going to need some 4.5-inch squares. All the blocks in this quilt end up being 4.5. And so if you cut 4.5-inch squares out of your background fabric, if you do it out of a layer cake, you're just going to trim 1/2 inch off of either side and cut them down. So they all have to end up 4.5. And 4 of these are going to make our star legs. And so I'm going to count out these 4. And then we're going to start our star legs. And we're going to use our 5-inch square. And if you want, you can fold this in half, make a little pleat so you know where the center is. And then you just want to take this edge right here, and you want to make sure that it goes across the center. This piece right here, you can put it however long or short you want it. You just have to make sure that it's going to actually cover the corner. And so Misty, if you want to go ahead and just make sure that crosses, and I'm going to have you chain piece these.
All right.
And so we're just going to go right across the center of these. There we go. All right, so while she's finishing this one, Natalie, you want to press that back?
Do we press first?
I do.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That is the right way.
So,
what do you know?
So you're always going to make sure that this background piece remains your background. It's your pattern for the square. So you want to press your print fabric, and then you're going to flip this over, and we're just going to trim this. Now, if you trim this whole side like this first, that gives you your other leg. And so then we're just going to trim this off right here. And then Misty, you'll put this on this way and sew that down.
I always try to remember to do like the longest side first so that you get the biggest piece of fabric, because if you cut it the other direction, sometimes you don't have enough.
Yeah, no, I always cut this piece all the way across like this.
Yeah.
And then I cut this little piece right here.
Yeah.
All right, Natalie, if you want to just go ahead and start ironing those, and we will trim those up.
There you go.
All right, so once you press them back, then you're just going to, again, use this as your pattern, and you're going to trim off these edges like this. And you'll need 4 of these for each block. And then Natalie, if you want to count out 5 more of those 4.5-inch squares.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you can see how this looks right here. And then we're just going to trim this off. It doesn't matter which side you trim it this time, because all of this is just waste.
Goes in the crumb bin.
Goes in the crumb bin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we have 4 of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to put one square in the middle, and we're going to line all of our legs around it like this. And then we're just going to put our corner squares in. And again, all these squares end up being 4.5. All right, so Misty, start here, and then we'll hand you that one.
All right.
I usually do it a column, and then I flip my thing and run it up the other side.
Oh, interesting.
No, this is
Oh.
your...
Oh, I just go like this. And
Oh, so you do the column.
And
Okay.
I come back and add the other.
That's what
I
I
was
do.
like, what? What are you doing?
I'm like, what you said, I thought you did it in a row.
Oh, I misunderstood what you were asking.
Yeah, I do it this column too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep,
on that
okay.
side.
Line that up.
All right.
There we
And then you're
go.
going to pull it forward. You're going to open it up
Yep.
and
Add this on
add
the
this
other
one on
side.
there.
There we go.
And there's this one. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was
No problem.
I was kind of in La La Land. I was like thinking about something else entirely. And here's
It's
this.
all good. Perfect.
So if you leave those little threads as you're sewing them, sewing them together, and you leave those little threads, they kind of work like pins for you because it keeps all the blocks connected and everything is right where it's supposed to go. So now what she'll do is she'll just fold that.
Should we like put it out and show
You can,
how that
sure.
works? So it took
Yeah.
me a really long time to figure this out.
Yeah. So you've sewn these together in the direction they're
Just
supposed to
all
go.
connected.
Yeah. And so then you're just going to fold this one over here.
And now we can't get it wrong when we take it to the machine.
We know it's right. And it is always a good idea to check.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, just
Definitely.
at that odd moment that you might just, put one in the wrong place, it's better to check than it is to pick. And she's nesting at every junction so that it stays nice and square. And then, how
There's
cute is
our
this?
block.
We got
How
it.
cute. If you'll
Give it a
iron
good
that,
press.
I will move on. All right. So our next block is a churn dash that is snowballed on the corners. And to make this block, we're going to do the Easy 8. And so when you do the Easy 8, you put 2 pieces of fabric right sides together, and you draw this X on here, and then you sew on both sides of the X. And then we're going to cut this. So one of these is going to make the legs for 2 blocks. And so first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut, I've already sewn it and drew the lines, and we're going to cut it vertically and horizontally like this and this way, because there are no lines on this part. And then over here, when you start cutting it diagonally, you have lines. So if this got all messed up, your cat jumps on the table, it, mixes things all up. You can actually, if this was out here, you still have the line to go ahead and cut it. So it makes it pretty easy. So we're just going to do that. We're going to mess it up on purpose so you guys know it can be done. And that should give you 8 half square triangles, and we're going to square these to 4.5. And I like to use the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer. So my stitch line goes on their stitch line. And on this one, I have to come over just a little bit. So it's not very much. These are very close to the right size. And you just can cut off these little points down here like that. And I will do 4 of these because we're just going to make one block. Let's see. There we go. Just one cut on this one.
There you go.
Yeah, if you can get that ruler all the way over to the edge, then you only have to make one cut. But sometimes my lines aren't exact, so you have a little bit of room to make it perfect. All right, so there's 4 of those. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start putting these together. And these are my corner blocks. And so they're going to go out here like this. This middle block and these outside edge blocks, those are my accent fabric. I wanted all of those to be the same, mostly because if I have a layer cake and there's 42 squares, I didn't want to take any of my layer cakes out to do this middle square. And so I thought if I get some accent fabric, then it'll work for this. And so it was just like, it's not very much accent fabric, but you want to find something that goes with your layer cake. So I cut a 4.5-inch strip like this, and then you're going to cut a 4.5-inch square because again, you know, everything in this block is 4.5. And so we're just going to put this on here like this.
Cool, cool.
And then this is our center square. So this is going to go here in the middle. And again, 4.5 by 4.5. And then these are all going to be white squares here. So we need 4 of those. Like this. And then I snowballed the whole outside. So Misty, that's how we're going to do it. We'll have you sew this column just like this. And then while she's doing this, I'm going to cut out of a 2.5-inch strip, I'm going to cut 4 squares so that I have my little snowball squares. And you'll do this for each of those blocks. So 2 different blocks is all you need to make this quilt, and this is a fun pattern.
Yeah, I love how it came out.
Yeah,
I love how it
beautiful.
chains. It actually chains up so fun.
Okay, that one.
Okay. And there's nothing to match on these until we get ready to sew those rows together. You're just attaching them to each other. And the way I remember my half square triangles is they always go into the middle. You know, so as you're sewing them, you just want to look and make sure that it's going in toward the middle.
This one's a little wonky, but I'll make it work. I think our background must have slipped or something.
Well, as long as you can fit it into the 1/4-inch seam,
And I can.
you're good to go.
Yep.
All right, so here's our block again, all hooked together with our little chain piecing pins.
Yep. Make sure that stays straight.
There we go. It's good to have ironers and sewers. It's so handy.
Yes.
Trying to make those go the way I want them.
Yeah, and if you have a seam that actually doesn't go the way you want it to go, you can always clip it and it'll
be fine.
It'll be fine in the end. But really what we're looking for is a flat block. So I, press from the top to make sure that everything's nice and flat. And if I feel like there's one of the seams has turned or something like that, I flip it over and re-iron that from the back. But mostly nobody looks inside your quilt to see which way you're ironing, so.
Yeah.
Well, they better not anyway, right? All right, and if you'll give this a quick press.
I will.
What we're going to do is we are going to sew on put these on the corner and sew diagonally from corner to corner. So you can draw the line or iron a line, or you can use the diagonal seam tape, which is what we'll be doing, corner to corner on this. And it just, so quick and easy, goes together.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Taking a minute. I was trying to get the seams to lay the right way, and then I just gave up.
I think they're pretty good, though.
They look
They
great.
are pretty good.
Yeah.
They're a little funky, but
It's all good.
All right, so lay this right on here, right sides together, and then you're going to take it over to the sewing machine, and you're going to sew diagonally from here to here
on the
all
line.
4 corners.
So
I did not save any of these, and there's a lot on here.
I think you did.
There's like 21 blocks, so 21 times 4. Woo, that's a lot of math for me this morning.
Maybe I'll do that next year, like starting in January. I'll
Save all the little
all
ones.
the tiny snowballed pieces and just keep them in a little box and then make something at the end of the year.
See what you can do.
All right, so I'm just putting my ruler about 1/4 of an inch away. I'm not checking to make sure that it's exact. I just don't want to cut right on that seam. And then Natalie, if you want to press that back, we're just going to roll those back. And it's so interesting to me what happens when you do these little things in the corner squares. So this what if project is, you want to think about what's happening in those corner squares and what's happening in your star square, what's happening in here. And I've kept mine very plain, but if you start messing with those corners, well, you'll see some different things on Misty and Natalie's for sure. All right, so here's our block and here's our star block, and let's go back to the quilt. So I started up here in the corner with this, my snowballed churn dash block. And so I did the block and the star. And then I just block and star, block and star, block and star. And then the next row, I start with the star. So I just alternated them.
Cool.
And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 across. By 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down. So 56 blocks. And this is the backing.
Oh,
Isn't
that's so
that
pretty.
gorgeous?
That's beautiful.
It's
It's
just
so
beautiful.
large you had to piece it.
I did have to
I
piece
love that.
it.
That's so pretty.
But yeah, I think it looks cool. I don't think it's good. And I think
Beautiful.
Yeah, I just love it. And then of course the little bias binding out here I love. Yeah. And I use the quilt pattern called Variety. And it's a great pattern. And this makes a great size quilt. Anyway, who's next? Do we know?
I think maybe I'll go next.
Okay,
Great.
All right. Well, this is my quilt. I'm calling it Shine On because it's very shiny and bright and bejeweled, and
I love it.
The fabric is really fun.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very fun.
I thought it turned out super fun.
What's amazing is really when she shows you how to make this, it's so similar to what I did.
Exactly, and it looks so different.
And it looks so different.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah.
You guys are going to love it.
cool.
So to make my quilt, I used 1 packet of 10-inch squares, and I used Dreaming of Fall by Studio RK for Robert Kaufman. You're going to need some background fabric, 3 3/8 of a yard, and that includes your inner border, 2.5-inch inner border.
Mm-hmm.
You'll need an outer border that's a 5-inch wide border, so you'll need 1 1/8 yard. And that is this beautiful
It's gorgeous.
mustard yellow. It's
I want a
really
dress
rich
out
and
of this.
Yeah,
pretty.
this is
Oh yeah,
so
and this
pretty.
fabric is pretty too. This is the backing fabric that I used. It's so pretty.
How much of
show
that
you
do you
that.
need for the back?
For the backing, 3 7/8 yard.
3 7/8. So really just 4 yards
yards,
is what
yeah.
I would get, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no
that
kidding.
is very pretty.
That's gorgeous.
And that's about it. Another helpful tool will be your squaring tool, and we used the Clearly Perfect Slotted Trimmer A. And that's it. So let's get started.
Awesome.
So this quilt is made up just of this block.
I love that.
This one block, and they're just set side by side, and they go together, and they create all these little cute
Fun
little like
things.
diamonds, and this diamond. It's just very fun.
That is very
beautiful.
cool.
So what I did is I reversed the legs, so our legs are background instead of print, and I snowballed on the print side to create sort of like a little stripe.
Almost gives you like a flower in the middle. I love
I
that.
love it.
Very
I thought
cool.
it was so fun.
Yep.
It would be fun. I always imagine like how fun these would be in like 2 colors,
Yes.
or even just a bunch of solids, or you know, how would it
Absolutely.
look in
Yeah.
low lights or batiks. Like I love that part
I
of
do
like how
too.
different the fabric looks or makes a quilt look. Mm-hmm. And color placement too, for sure. So,
Definitely.
super fun. All right, so we're gonna start by making half square triangles, just like Mom did, where you make 8. So your background fabric you'll cut into 10-inch squares, and then you'll cut some 2.5-inch squares and some of these rectangles that make the legs, and I believe they're like 3 by, hang on, I've got some cut.
okay.
I'll measure real quick. 3 by 6.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, that's an interesting
So
way to
that's
make a
it.
star. You guys are in for a treat.
We're gonna do the make 8, just like Mom did.
It's so handy. I mean,
It
it's
is.
just such a great. I mean, the other day I was actually making half square triangles, and I'm doing the 4, 4 and I'm doing this sewing on either side, and I'm just like, wait a minute, I
Why
could
am I
make 8.
doing that?
Yes.
Yeah, anytime you want a 4.5-inch half square triangle, make 8 is your best friend.
I had actually sewed 2 strips together and I was making them out of that. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Right,
Yeah,
so
it
we'll
was
stitch
interesting.
on both sides of both lines.
We're just sliding through there. There we go. And one more line on both sides. There was a little wobble right there.
You're fine.
So speedy.
Alrighty. There we go.
All right, so we are going to cut this apart. Only I'm not going to use a pencil to cut. I'm going to use a rotary cutter.
You might be disappointed with the
It might
other
not
tool.
cut through it. We're just going to ignore that little wiggle.
And you
cut
can
on
use,
the
you don't have
lines
to use this
anyways.
squaring tool. You can use a
Oh
regular
yeah,
square.
you can square with anything
yeah.
you like. We just like this one because it's convenient, quick and easy. It does a good job. Let me make
And
sure
so
I felt
of
that
these
slide a little
half
bit.
square triangles, you'll use 4
So
of
you
these
use
for a
4
block.
per block. So your counts are not exactly equal. You're going to need 5 4.5-inch squares for the star legs in the center, and then 4 4.5-inch half square triangles. So you'll get enough half square triangles for 2 blocks, just like yours.
Right.
And then you'll need some of your other pieces for the rest of that. So if you'll press that,
Of course.
I'm going to go ahead and continue squaring these because those ones aren't squared and they're pressed open.
Oh,
So a whole different method.
yeah.
Man, this fabric is beautiful.
It is.
Isn't it
It's
pretty?
really
It
a
looks
beautiful
very
line.
watercolory.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
I enjoyed working with it.
I really do think I might make a dress out of
I
that
think that would be gorgeous.
It would be a great dress or a top.
top. Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and snowball these. And we've drawn the line on some of these little 2.5-inch squares. So you'll put one on the print side of each half square triangle.
Okay. So right in the corner.
Yep. Part of the thing.
She's just trimming off that extra and then I'll press it back.
And I'm actually following the line. I haven't even looked at my diagonal seam tape.
There's one
It is
more.
actually kind of handy to have a line, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes, it can
Yep.
be for sure.
Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and make the star legs. And what I'm going to do is cut 4 4.5-inch squares out of my 10-inch square. And I'm just going to do that by cutting a little strip. I'll cut that one, and then I think I'll stack them because that'll give me a couple less cuts. As long as they're lined up, you should be pretty safe to do this. Because we'll need 4 of these, and then we'll need a 4.5-inch square for our middles. So then, in a way that is very similar to what you did, we're going to press and find our middle here. And then we're going to use our rectangles, our background rectangles that are 3 by 6. Yep, 3 by 6. Just wanted to make sure. So the thing about these is you do want it to go down to the corner. So you'll line that up in the middle, all the way down to the corner, and just stitch along the edge, going
So
both
right
directions.
on the middle, or do you cross over the middle a
Well,
little?
you put it right on the middle and right on the corner, and you cross it
Okay.
with the next one.
This is a whole new world to me. That's so
Go
fascinating.
ahead and press that back. So here's one that has got both of its sides on.
Oh, perfect.
And then we'll just go ahead and trim those off.
Well, that is fancy.
Love that.
There's a ruler that's called like Peaky and Spike or something like that, and it's it does this same block only, you know, with a ruler.
This is a way you don't really need that ruler. It's still going to give you your points at the bottom.
Exactly.
And then I need 1 square for the middle, so I'm going to cut another 4.5 inch out of this one. One little 4.5, and the pattern will give you all the numbers that you need for which, you know, how many to pull out for middles and how many to make into half square triangles.
Right.
We've done all that math for you. Right. We're going to line up our legs to the middle of this block here. And then we're going to add our...
And just by changing this with the white on the outside rather than the color, look at the difference.
I know.
That is
I love
amazing.
it.
Well, and so here's the other thing, like if you just flip these around, you get a whole different
Whole
look.
different quilt.
You know, so I think this would be super cute as well.
Wait, don't look. It's a whole new tutorial.
It's a whole different, it's a whole different star, right?
It really is.
Okay, so, but what I did for this one, these guys go in and they create this really cute little flower petal.
Very
that I
cute.
very
Beautiful.
much like. So I'll have you go ahead and stitch those together.
Alrighty.
So now we're going to add these the side pieces. So this goes like that.
Oh, there we go.
And if you are sewing along and you think you might have lost your points, that's okay. They still remain. Some of them are pretty sharp. Some of them are a little farther apart. That's because these blocks are wonky. You're still adding wonky legs, even though you're trying to line them up in a certain way. The overall look is still going to be there. You'll be all right.
All right, you'll want to check this, make sure it's right,
Okay.
and then we'll sew those rows together.
So we've got our chain pieced block here.
Looks perfect.
And
That
that
looks
looks great. And I typically will fold my centers to the middle because you have less seams in there, so it can handle the seams being pressed towards
Okay,
it.
perfect.
That's usually how I nest that.
All right, now
Good, we're almost done.
we'll flip that around and do this last row over
One more
here.
seam.
I do always love it when you make your whole quilt without adding like sashing and cornerstones and a second block. I mean, it feels like this gets done a lot faster
Oh,
because you're just
definitely.
making the one block.
Oh, now you're just showing
I was
off.
going to say, way to show off now.
I mean, I'm also all for a complex quilt that has a lot of extra steps.
All right, there we go.
Beautiful.
All right, so let's
All
press
right.
that and then I'll show you.
How
We'll
it
show
goes
it on the
together.
quilt, and then if you use all of your supplies, you're going to have a few extra blocks. So I have a little bonus.
Oh, nice.
A fun little project.
Fun. Make sure that's all laying flat. There we go.
Sweet. And there you have it.
It's so
Your
cute. So
block.
show it how it goes in the
So
quilt.
it just is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 5 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, wow.
And that's it. So I added a
And it makes-
2.5 inch inner border and a 5 inch outer border. I bound it with the same fabric as your outer border, but you could use anything you like.
So pretty.
And it comes out at 61
1 by 73.
by 73.
And what quilting pattern
It's
is this?
quilted in loops and swirls. This is just one of my old standby like favorite
Yep.
patterns. It's quick to do. It looks pretty on just about everything.
Let's see the back.
And again, this
I love the
backing is
backs.
that beautiful blue.
Oh, yeah, you did show that because it's,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
That pretty
It's
fabric.
So pretty. And that's
Beautiful.
it. I called it Shine On,
All
and
right,
I
did
hope you
wanna
guys enjoy it.
See your bonus?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. So I had 4 little extra blocks, and you'll just need a little bit more of your border yardage to put a little border on it.
And there you've got a runner. I love
And
it.
you've got a cute little runner with your leftovers.
so
Perfect.
cute.
So that's it. Enjoy.
All right, so this is my quilt. I'm calling it Autumn Nights, and I just love how it turned out. I love it so much.
It's so cute.
Thank you, and I think you guys are gonna love how simple it is. It's really, really easy.
It's stunning.
Thank you. So to make this quilt, you are going to need one package of 10-inch squares, and I use this beautiful solids pack called Colors of Fall for Robert Kaufman. I love it. And then you're gonna need 4 5/8 yards of both a dark and a light. So I've got black and white that I used here. For your backing, if you use 45, you're going to need 8 7/8 yard or 2 5/8 of a 108. And then I use this fun little teal for my binding, and you're going to need 7/8 of a yard.
It's a pretty big quilt.
It's a big quilt. It measures 85 by 98. So let me show you how to make this. All right, so to begin with, I took my entire pack of 10-inch squares and I just paired them up so that I had really good contrast between my colors. So I have 2 here. I've got this blue and green, and we're gonna cut all of our sets of colors the exact same way from the pack. And so it was just easy for me to have them in my sets for my blocks first. So I had all my pieces. So we're gonna start by cutting this in half, both directions.
Now, is this for the star block?
This is for the star block, yes. All right, and then I'm gonna set these 2 aside, and on these 2, I'm gonna actually cut them in half again so that they measure 2.5 by 5-inch rectangles.
This is the fascinating part to me is how the same quilt gets made 3 different ways. How did you get there? 3 different.
Yes, and so then this, we're actually gonna set one of our 5-inch squares just aside. I have a fun little bonus project we'll use this for, because you get basically a whole charm pack left.
Oh, cool.
And this
nice.
is what
That's
we need
so fun.
for our block. So first things first, we're gonna take our 2 5-inch squares and we're gonna sew all the way around, all 4 sides. So if you can do that. Right.
So these are these going to be half square triangles?
They are. This is going to make our half square triangles.
One of my favorite ways to do it.
It's just going all the way around.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So now that she has done that, I can cut this diagonally, both directions, because for our block we need 4. Point to point. There we go. And so now I have my 4 little half square triangles, and all of my components within my block are based on a 5-inch square instead of 4.5. So we're going to square these to 2 3/4. So if you have the trimmer D of the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer, that will work for you.
That's so great.
Yep.
It's nice and easy.
And so it's the same concept. We're going to put this on the stitch line and then just square these up.
I love when you can just do that one cut
One
on the
side.
corner. That's just so easy.
Yep. And I do have some of these already squared. So if you want to press that one, then we'll move over to these other ones I have done.
All right.
All right. And so now we are just going to make a pinwheel in the middle. So I'll go ahead and have you sew this together, Nat.
Okay.
So there we go. There's our middle of our block.
Nice.
Ta-da! Ta-da. There we go.
Okay.
It's so handy that they came out with these in different sizes.
It really is. Gives you lots of options.
This way, so on this side?
Well, I'm not sure if it got spun.
That looks
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to check.
Yep, it's always better to check.
Then we will
Open them up. Do you need us to press or?
that. I think it's good.
It looks great.
I don't mind doing it unpressed because then you can make the seams
Go
go
where
exactly
you want.
where you want them,
I agree.
and then press it down.
Yep. And since we squared those to 2 3/4 with our 1/4 inch seams, this block will end up 5 inches, which
is handy if you're, especially if you're fitting one block into another pre-cut.
Exactly. All right, perfect.
All right, let me press that.
So if you want to press that, we'll start on the star
turned out okay on
legs.
that.
So now this is the part that you kind of need to pay attention to. So when you have your pinwheel, we are going to take our 5-inch square and we have our rectangles, but you do need to make sure that you're putting the right color to match, because
extended leg.
so that the leg kind of extends out from there. So I went ahead and creased this middle just like you guys did. And then I just put this on here to cross the middle, and I just made sure I still had plenty to come back and flip that back. So if you need to make this a little shorter, and we're gonna sew straight across.
Very cool. So these don't go all the way down to the
They do not.
bottom.
Nope,
Okay.
they're totally wonky. That's
Yeah,
what we're going for.
Here's this what we're making right here. I'm
Yeah.
going to press it so you can see it.
So then if you want to press that one back,
There you go.
there we go. And then we'll go ahead and trim this one off. There we go. And then again, you want to make sure you're going the right way. And so now our green will go on this side
Flip back.
and flip back. And so there was a few where when I flipped it, I had just this tiny little corner that was showing, and I just never worried about that because I knew it was going to be caught in the seam. So
If it's under a 1/4 inch.
yeah, then you're going to be fine. So there we go. If you want to do that one.
So on these legs, do you have 2 that are running one direction and 2 that are the other? Or are they all?
They're all the same because
they're
your
the
pin,
same.
as you put them
Okay.
around, your pinwheel is going to be the same. But so when you're making your block, you just need to make sure that you're making them all exactly the same orientation. Now we can press it back and trim it. I have the other ones ready to go.
Okay. There we go.
Perfect. And then we'll cut that off. And turn. There we go. And so then this stays 5. And I have some more here. And just like Jenny was asking, they're all made exactly the same. So green on the left, blue on the right. And then those will sit in. And so then for the outside squares, we just took our 5-inch squares with a 2.5-inch black accent fabric, and we're going to snowball one side.
Okay.
So we'll get that ready to go, and then we can complete our block layout.
All right.
Perfect. Live on the edge. There we
That's
go.
right.
Living on the edge.
Press that one back.
There we go.
All right, and so we'll have 4 of those, just like that, to put in our corners.
We all snowballed those
We
corners.
did. We all did. I think it's so funny what carries through from design to
Yeah.
design. And
Yeah.
so then just like all the other ones, you're just going to sew your 3 rows of 3 and your block looks just like this. And so that's the first block. And let me show you the second one. All right, so this is almost exactly the same thing. It's just all about color placement here. And so from our white background squares, we are going to use our black accent fabric in the exact same way to make our star legs.
Okay.
And so let me see if I have enough done. We need to make one.
I'm going to make one more.
Yep, we'll make one of these. So if you'll press that and then give it a little center line. Yeah.
There we
You know, it's all going to work out in the end. And so same
So
idea, we're just going to cross that
both.
middle. Yep.
Okay.
Now, once you press it, can you attach the other side and then cut it all at
You
once?
totally could.
Let's
Absolutely.
do that.
Yep. Whatever is easiest.
Just a little shortcut.
It is for sure. Then you're only trimming once. There we go.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, if you'll press that.
Impressive.
Very impressive. And then we're going to square that back up to 5. So we'll just trim
Super
our
nice
sides.
that ruler is that exact
Oh, it's
size,
the
and you
best.
can just cut all 3 sides at once.
Yep. I'm gonna spin it just a little.
You could have left that. I could have done that
You
left side
could
for
have
you.
come in. You're right. What was I thinking?
There we go.
All right. And so then here are our star legs. I'm going to lay these out first because as I add this black accent, you kind of lose them a little bit because this second block is finished out with just black 5-inch squares.
That's so cool.
And so we're just going to set those in the middle and in each corner.
Oh my gosh.
And that is it.
Yeah.
That is your second block.
Ah, I
It's
love
as simple
it.
as that. And so then in the quilt, I just started with a star and alternated with that secondary block and just went all the way across. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down. And I did want to kind of frame the whole thing in black. So I added that 2.5-inch outer border. That's all that there is. And then I quilted it with champagne bubbles, which I really love. And I used this
great.
beautiful purple on the back,
Oh, that's
that's gorgeous.
which really shows the quilting. I love that. So that's it. I think it turns out so fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed
great.
it.
It's gorgeous.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
But wait, there's more. You have a bonus
Oh my
project.
gosh, I almost forgot.
Here we go.
Okay, so this is made using that leftover charm pack that you had and some more of the black and white. And
Oh,
you can see I
cool.
just switched up the color placement again.
here, let me
so
hold this for you.
thank you, and I'll point it out. And so then I used the black and white background to make the star and then based all of my squares.
Completely changes it.
Yeah, so it just is
That
really
is
fun
so
to see
fun.
what you
Such a-
can do.
And that would be such a cute little
Baby
quilt.
blanket, yeah.
I
So
love that.
super fun ideas. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Hey girls, I think this was really fun.
It really
It
was.
really
I
was.
love the 5440 or fight block. That's a lot to say in one sentence.
It is, but it's a great block.
And
we
so
had a lot
many
of fun.
options. A lot of fun. And we hope you guys enjoyed this triple play from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.
Bye.
Hey everybody, every week I give you a new idea and we are almost 1 million quilters strong. So join us every Friday for a new tutorial, and if you haven't clicked or subscribed, make sure you do that today. See you on Friday.